2025 Youth and Family Services Committee. If we could do a roll call, please.
Gertis,
Here.
Givens,
Here.
Big Sanders,
Present.
Harding, Driscoll.
Okay. Council members, we have an agenda, committee members, we have an agenda in front of us. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We've got minutes from May 15th, 2025. Entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to jump right into it this morning, and we've got education and youth opportunities updates. I know a lot of us have been anticipating this, and we've got Dr. Sharon Brown, our Education and Youth Opportunities Director, joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present my work that I've been engaged in the last 18 months I've been in the role. You have a host of slides before you with a lot of information, and so I'm not going to read all those words to you. I believe you've probably
All of us appreciate that.
You've had the opportunity to go through it, but what I will do is go through the whole entire deck at a high level, just starting first with where we started, the categories of work, and then diving in a little bit deeper, high level on the data, but you can read a deeper level of the data with the deck that's before you, and then we jump into Q&A. So that's the structure of it.
Say that one more time.
We just recognize that Chair Laura Hine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
oh my
you for-
goodness, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah, thank you
Vice
for
Chair
being here,
Laura
Dr.
Hines,
Hine.
thank you for being here. Anyone else?
Couldn't hear you,
That's it?
sorry.
Okay. Okay, so to get the work started and to advance the education and youth opportunities agenda, one of the things that made sense to do was to adopt the concept of the whole child framework. And so we took the whole, creating our own acronym, ensuring that these elements, well-being, harmony, opportunity, leadership, and empowerment were the guideposts for every program, every initiative that would come from the office. From there, strategic focus areas were created, 8 to be specific. The first strategic, let me back up. So one of the things that had to happen were conversations with stakeholders and community members in order to determine the way to move forward. With limited resources, of course, because I don't have all the money in the world in my budget, we had to decide what were the levers that we could pull to help support and align in partnership best with the school system while providing opportunities that met the needs that were in the community. So the first strategic focus area focused on early childhood, and the lever being pulled there was school readiness and early literacy. 2 initiatives that we have coming from that is the Early Literacy Resource Guide, which I believe you all already have a copy of, so I don't have to go into what that is. And then City Reads, which is in partnership with Thrive by 5. Thrive by 5 is under Community Foundation Tampa Bay. And with City Reads, it's city employees that have adopted Melrose as our school, and we go in and read weekly to our preschoolers there, with the idea of partnering with the Thrive by 5 Coalition to be a model and an example, a role model to other organizations in the community for them to do the same. The next strategic focus area focused on elementary age students with STEAM and literacy. The 2 programs there that you are familiar with are Master Kids from Shirley Proctor, Puller Foundation, and the Osprey program with Clan Bayou. The next strategic focus area focused on adolescent age students, again, focusing on STEAM and career readiness. The 2 initiatives that came out from that this year were Camp Bullseye, which you're familiar with, and SPC Discover. Camp Bullseye was a collaboration between the city and USF Youth Services Department, and SPC Discover is an ongoing summer camp that provides engineering education to middle school students. So we supported that this year. The next strategic focus area focused on secondary. There we are looking at workforce development mainly, and so the initiatives from there are Prosperity Pathways, which also goes into more detail in the packet that you have, but mainly with Prosperity Pathways, that's providing workforce development, workforce readiness, and paid internships. I'll speak a little bit more on that when we get to the data. Also, Cohort of Champions, which I refer to as a legacy program because it's been in existence for 8 years now. And the final one is Junior Achievement, 3DE Junior Achievement. That's an in-school program where, again, employees from the city of St. Pete do go into the high schools to volunteer and support the projects that the young people are working on, their entrepreneurship projects and soft skills development projects. So this year, or last year, I should say, last school year, we were in St. Pete High and Gibbs, and this coming school year will be in those 2 schools and Lakewood High School. Strategic focus area 5 focuses on post-secondary. So right now, what this that you voted on, well, actually you voted on it back in March, engaging disengaged youth to engage with workforce development opportunities. This social science project really came out of many conversations, but one in particular where we were with Dr. Hernandez Augusto at SPC, and we realized that there are tons of workforce development opportunities in our region, but they're not being accessed at capacity. And so the answer that came from that, like what is the solution then? How do we engage all of these young people? There are 3,000 young people in St. Petersburg who are disengaged, meaning they are not working and they are not in school, but there are all these opportunities for them. And so we need to know how to communicate with them, we need to know how to reach them, and we need to know how to engage them in a way where they will engage with the opportunities that are available to them. So this research is now currently underway, and we'll have more on that as the year goes on. Strategic focus area 6 is about engaging families. And so you see the initiatives here, they have asterisks next to them because some of the initiatives that I've already shared with you serve the purpose of addressing more than one strategic focus area. So specifically, the early literacy resource guides, that goes out to the families, caregivers, that sort of thing. But City Reads is one that also addresses families because not only do our employees volunteer to go out and read in the schools at Melrose, but every month books are sent home to families with a packet that provides them with tips, ideas, resources on how to engage their children with reading books and making it fun and that sort of thing. Because the whole idea here is to ensure that the children are going to kindergarten ready so that when they get to 3rd grade, they're prepared to succeed. Because, I don't know if everyone knows this, but as an educator, what I do know is that from 0 to 3rd grade, you're learning to read. 4th grade onward, you're reading to learn. So if you can't read, you're not going to learn. So we're doing our part to support that. And of course, Cohort of Champions has quarterly parent nights. So that's how families are engaged that way. Strategic focus area 7 is about mental well-being, actually the well-being of youth, period. So all of our initiatives focus on the well-being of youth. When we put RFPs out or small quote agreements, all of them in some way, shape, or form are asking, how will you address the well-being of youth through your program? In addition to that, the other initiatives that are addressing well-being, of course, Mentoring Matters, Connecting Careers and Classrooms, which we just rolled out this actually last month, and Safe Summer Fridays, which you're familiar with. The final strategic focus area is youth celebration. So this is basically celebrating youth. There are lots of wonderful things happening for youth and with youth, and so we'll be looking at how we as the city can celebrate them. But right now, what's happening is in our initiatives that we're funding, youth are being celebrated in different ways. So this is an example of one. Boys and Girls Club, they have the Youth of the Year competition that happens annually. The next one is coming up. And Camp Bullseye and Cohort of Champions, they all celebrate the youth. Youth Opportunity Grants went out earlier this year. So everything that I've spoken to you before were directly initiated from the office. These are grants that go out, and of course, nonprofits in the community write, and then there's a selection committee, and they're scored and are selected. And so 4 that were selected, they each received $20,000. So 4 that were selected was great exploration from STEM exposure, where, well, I'll go into the data later. Prosperity pathways for adolescents. So this prosperity pathways is different than the previous one, because the previous one is for high school students. Teen Traders take Wall Street, and then empowering the next generation. And again, we'll go into deeper what each of those are. So that's everything that has happened. These are the things that are still yet to happen. The upcoming initiatives involve RFPs that are currently either recently published or getting ready to be published in the next week or 2. So there's Vision and Voice. This one is a career readiness one that will focus on middle school students who are interested in the arts, and we're giving them the opportunity to explore the arts, the digital arts, visual arts. No performing arts though, because that's already being addressed in another department, but we're giving them the opportunity to explore those career opportunities in middle school. Then Saturday LEAD standing for Learning, Enrichment, Achievement, and Development. This is to support young people in 8th through 10th grades who may be falling through the cracks, so helping them to not fall too far below so that we can help them catch up by the time they get to high school. And that's supplementing another program that the school system currently has that helps 11th graders catch up. So we're helping them catch up before they need it in 11th grade to help them graduate. Canvas to Careers, again, it's another applied arts career readiness, but this one is for high school students. Civics internship. So these, whoever the vendor is, they'll create the opportunities for high school students to have paid internships of the livable wage that are civically based. And so we'll see what those applications look like to be able to say what those opportunities will be. Parent Pathways is another RFP that's currently being written to be published soon, and that's to provide families, caregivers with resources, toolkits, opportunities, training, the skills to support their children, grandchildren, whatever children that are in their lives, that they're supporting them going through school and being successful. And then finally, Wealth Builders is an RFP that is published right now, and we're waiting for people to apply, and then they'll be scored and selected. And this one, we're intentional about calling it Wealth Builders because it goes beyond, when you hear financial literacy, a lot of times what we're hearing is learning to write a check, having a bank account, learning to save, having good credit. But what we're focused here is on wealth literacy, accumulating assets. What is it like to invest? What are stocks? What are bonds? That sort of thing. So that's what Wealth Builders will focus on, and we're excited about that. This is the strategy wheel that encompasses everything that I just shared. So you see we have our whole child framework surrounding, and then the 8 strategic focus areas in each initiative that falls within the various strategic focus areas. The ones that are orange are the ones from the last slide that are not yet in play because the RFPs are out right now waiting for vendors to apply. Getting into the data, I will not read, as I said, every single thing, so I'll high level it. Right now, the early literacy guides, they're still young on the streets, and so as of the time of putting this deck together back in August, we know that we have 166 unique scans. So the good thing about the literacy guides is on every single page with every single resource, there is a QR code, and we will be collecting that data to determine how many people are using the guides, what zip codes are they accessing the guides from, what zip codes, what organizations are they accessing. So that data will be important for us to know how to move forward, where there may be gaps that we can still fill and share with our partners in the school system to say, hey, this is what's happening, this may be needed, and we can all problem solve together on ways to move forward. City Reads, we started last year. I believe we started in March. As I said, we adopted Melrose, so there's 1 classroom, 15 students. We had 5 volunteers from the city, and 90 books were sent home. So we're excited about that. We look forward to doing more. This year, we kick off City Reads October 3rd. So that's Master Kids with Shirley Proctor kicked off in January, and we have great data already of the 50 students that they started with, they have more now. But of the 50 students that they started with, you can see there, the next 3 data points show that grade level achievement or grade level improvements have been made already. And so we look forward to seeing even more data on that as the school year progresses. Clam Bayou got started late this spring. And so throughout the summer, what they've done so far is they've selected their 12 participating schools. Teachers apply to be in this teacher development process that will then trickle down to the way they instruct their students in the classroom. So 20 teachers were selected, and approximately 500 students will be impacted. And as the school year goes on, we'll have more data about Clam Bayou as well. Camp Bullseye, as I shared earlier, was a collaboration between the city and USF Youth Experiences to give 50 middle school St. Petersburg youth the opportunity to know what it's like to apply to college, to attend college, to graduate, the whole shebang, which they're going to tell you themselves in the slide coming up.
Camp Bullseye is a fun, innovative, and practical way to open the minds and open the doors to the
It's a sleepaway camp, and you get to stay actually in the college dorms, which to me, that was like my favorite part.
I've been learning about marine science, entrepreneurship, innovation.
The purpose of Camp Bullseye is to connect kids with the University of South Florida. Having the great opportunity to partner with the city of St. Petersburg to bring about this camp that got kids knowing the USF St. Peter's right in their backyard, as well as giving them an opportunity to come onto a college campus to experience the dorm life, to interact with faculty and staff, to learn about some awesome concepts and subjects that USF St. Pete does really well.
We have a mayor who is very much focused on opportunities for youth, and we have this amazing resource that is USF that is offering opportunities for young people through their early adult lives to create lives of impact. That marriage of those two desires or initiatives that came together to sort of create this opportunity.
Starting early is always very important, and so whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, if you can reach kids where they're at and let them know that the university is not a place that is not approachable, right? That they can be on campus, they can see campus, they can use the facility.
My hope is that the impact has been that they have an inkling more understanding of themselves, an idea of what pathway they might want to follow or something else they might want to explore, and really just a basic knowledge of the opportunities that are just right outside their doorstep.
My biggest hope was that lives were changed, that their minds were open, that some may have found their path.
I definitely became more knowledgeable about college. Now I feel more prepared. I've got more of an idea of what to expect.
I think something that we've all gotten is that everyone is capable of doing things. It's possible. They are performing great, and so there's no boundaries or limits to anything that anyone can do.
So as that was playing, I realized I didn't tell you what the college experience was. So in addition to applying and then getting accepted, they also had majors. So as you heard, their major was majors and minors. Marine science, because they were going to solve a problem that we're facing, a real problem. And when you saw them with the mics, that was their presentation on the capstone night. Journalism, digital storytelling, and entrepreneurship. Everyone's day started with the first hour being about how to get into college. So they went through the PATH program where they learned how to get into, whether it be USF or any college, the financial aid system, everything that is required to get into college. And then the rest of the day was about their major and preparing for their graduation. And then on the final day, we had about 200 family members come out for their capstone presentation. It was wonderful. So that's Camp Bullseye. Then SPC Discover, as I shared earlier, it is an engineer-based summer camp for middle school students. 20 students altogether went through, and as you can see there, various zip codes throughout the city were engaged in participating in SPC Discover. Prosperity Pathways, so this is the secondary version. This is the one that we initiated versus the one that happened through the Youth Opportunity Grant. It is focused on providing workforce development opportunities to high school students. So I just want to point out on here that work-based, they're still in progress. So when I put this together, this data is a little old, about a month or so. But we have students or young people who have internships at organizations such as Baycare, Bank of America, Habitat for Humanity, and if I remember correctly, which did not make it to the slide because it came up later, Power Design. So that's exciting. Cohort of Champions, as I say, I refer to it as a legacy program. It's been around for 8 years. So what you see there is in its lifetime, 1,100 youth have been served. There have been 27 parent nights overall. There 511 families received wraparound support services. So Cohort of Champions no longer provides wraparound services. That concluded back in 2022. But that is the number that received those services up until that point, and 181 jobs were attained through the support of Cohort of Champions. That also concluded back in 2022. The 3DE from Junior Achievement, that's again a program that happens inside the school. So there's a curriculum that develops soft skills, getting young people ready for jobs, and that's 9th grade. And then in 11th grade, there's the entrepreneurship project that they work on. And so here we have the young ladies, their business was called Sunkissed Ladies. They're in Gibbs High Schools, and they won this year's, I'm glad to say that because we supported that, but they won this year's Regional Innovators Competition, and with winning that, they have the opportunity, if they choose, to engage in a entrepreneurship program at Yale. It's a summer program. Engaging disengaged youth, as I shared earlier, that research is starting now, but when we have the findings will serve not just the city of St. Pete, but it will also serve PCS, it'll serve SPC, it'll serve all of our local colleges and universities, it'll serve all of our organizations that provide workforce development opportunities. And so we're looking forward to that data coming out about next year this time. Mentoring Matters, that's our overall internal mentoring program throughout the city. We're getting ready to kick it off again this school year. We're adding more mentoring opportunities. One of them that's not on this slide, but I'm excited to know will be announced later this month is employees will have the opportunity to be trained as resiliency coaches and served as resiliency coaches as a mentoring opportunity for young people in the school system. Connecting Careers in Classrooms just completed last month. That's where we had over 100 career and technical educators from Pinellas County Schools come in, and they were dispersed to various departments in our city. So they all went where they went and met with the different administrators and their teams, learned about that particular area in their class, that relates to what they teach in the classroom, so that they can have that real world relevant experience to take it back and influence their curriculum. That's what they asked for. They wanted that real world look at what it looks like when their young people leave school for criminal justice or for engineering or what have you. And so they got that, and then we all convened at Mahaffey and closed the day out. As you can see, they scored us an A on how we did for them, and so we're looking forward to the impact that will have on their students in their career and technical education classes. That was a different spin on how to do workforce development, so we're excited to be able to be the first really in the region to be able to do this and to do that with Pinellas County Schools. Safe Summer Fridays, again, you're aware of that. This summer, we served 181 students and young people, and you see the breakdown of how that happened throughout the summer. Again, the Youth Opportunity Grant, STEM Exposure was able to serve 127 youth. They used their grant for a particular STEM curriculum, and you see there the breakdown of how the different ways, the different groups of students that they serve throughout the summer with their funding that they receive. The Sanderlin Center, they had a financial focused summer camp that served 77 students. Of those 77 students, 13 of them were ages 11 through 13. Those 13 students took about a 2-night trip to New York City, and part of that trip involved them going to the New York Stock Exchange, where they walked the halls of the New York Stock Exchange. They were there to hear the bell ring, and they learned about investing and trading on that trip and throughout the summer. And this is Prosperity Pathways, the adolescent edition. So one thing I'll point out with this, they have partnered with iHeartMedia, so young people will learn about this industry and have the opportunity for real hands-on practice with podcasting and digital media. So that will be, well, that is happening right now. That's what was set up this summer. And then Empowering the Next Generation was also a summer program. It's still ongoing, but they kicked it off with the funds that they received from the city this summer, serving 85 youth to support them academically and to provide career readiness opportunities for those youth. This final slide, I'd like to be able to point to the fact that we are intentional about being a good partner with our school system. Unlike other school systems, we don't have any influence over it, but we can definitely support and supplement and align with. And so on the left side of the screen, what you see is the strategic plan for the school system. And on the right side is showing all the programs that I just listed previously and how they align with the school system strategic plan to be able to support the work that the school system is doing to ensure that our young people thrive. Finally, this QR code, when you decide to use it, takes us to the City of Education page where we have this task that we're working on now. We want families, caregivers, and whoever else needs to use the site to have one place where they can go. So when they go to this site, they will see the 8 strategic focus areas. They click on the one that they need. If their child that they want to find activities for is 0 through 5, they'll click on SFA 1. If their child is a middle school child, they'll click on SFA 3. And then there's a drop down that has all the city's programs, not just what's coming from the mayor's office, but the entire city. So that's always a work in progress. We built that out earlier this year, and then in January, we'll be revisiting it to make sure that it's up to date and conclusive. And with that, I stop now, so you can ask questions.
Okay, committee members,
I got a lot, so you might want me to go last.
or first.
First.
Councilmember Fix-Sanders.
All right. Well, thank you, and hello, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Brown, for this. So I have quite a few, well, I don't know if they're questions or more so statements.
Okay.
One of the things that I noticed, and I don't know what slide this is, that when we did the impact for SBC, let me go to the slide. I'm glad that you did it slide 19.
Okay.
And you showed the breakdown with SBC and the impact of the zip codes that they serve. But then when you go to slide 18, I would love to know what those zip codes are. And the reason why I asked for that list is because I know, and I have a new business item coming up in regards to USF, we have a strong collaboration with USF. And if you go to, the first thing came to my mind, if you go to slide, what is this? And thank you so much for numbering your slides. I really do appreciate that. the strategic focus area 5,
Okay.
when it spoke about strategic partnerships, and I look at those young men because I attend those graduations, and the first thing came to my mind is how many of them can actually apply and be accepted to USF? Because they still have that 4.2 GPA entry. I do know that, and that's what I wanted to find out, with all of the partnerships and collaborations that we're doing with USF, are we still focusing on, because I know you used the word about being able to provide opportunities, for example, Camp Bullseye, for those students that are right in our backyard. But unfortunately, over the past few years, our students right there in our backyard cannot be accepted. And so I'm hoping that we still have a focus, and I don't know if that's a focus of yours. I know before Chancellor Tadlock left, he and Dr. Williams were working on a bridging program where normally our students that cannot get accepted because of the rise of the 4.2 GPA right here in our own backyard cannot attend USF, St. Pete, our Tampa campus, that they worked on a bridge. And I would love to see us focus on, it's, well, you go to, SBC for a semester and then you transfer. Well, why would we do that? Or, you sit out the first semester and then you apply in spring or summer to get in. I'm really hoping that when we're looking at some of these collaborations, we know we have a lot in our backyard that don't have 4.2s. If I had a 4.2 when I graduated high school, I would have not have stayed in St. Pete either. But I want to know, well, it's the truth. I wouldn't. I could go anywhere I wanted to with a 4.2. But I'm hoping with all of the collaborations that we're doing, and some of the slides that I saw shows that there really is a disconnect there when I looked at it. So I wish we can look into something like that, if that would be possible. And I think I would love to have Ms. Nesbitt come and actually talk about some of those outside of the box engaging to help some of our students that are right here in USF's backyard become students. The wraparound services that you said are no longer that was with the, oh my goodness, Dr. Brown, I can't remember what slide that was. I should have wrote the slide down. And we took away the wraparound services. Mental health is one of our biggest issues, and we talked about that earlier today. With us taking out the wraparound services, which included the mental health, especially for our middle school students, we still need to address that in a mighty way. In a mighty way. I can't remember who I spoke with earlier this week when we talked about mental health of students, that at one time the suicide rate of young ladies went down. But as the age of social media increased, because of the optics of social media, the mental health deterred drastically. And so when I see things like this and all the wonderful strategic forces areas that you have, and when you said you took out the wraparound, especially for that community, that is so needed. That mental health is so needed. So I don't know what could be done and added back for our students in regards to mental health, but that's the one thing that they really need, and I don't want us to take that out. When you showed the slides about the teachers and the different areas that you were educating them in, I didn't see entrepreneurship in that, because most people, a lot of people don't want to work for anybody else, and I get it. But there really is a pathway to entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't learn, so they get frustrated and they walk away from earning a career that would be profitable not only to them, but to us as a city, as taxpayers. But I didn't see that listed. And so I would recommend that we also look at teaching the steps of entrepreneurship to our young people. I heard a lot of, like I said, SBC and USF, and thank you for including that there are other higher education institutions in St. Petersburg, Eckerd College, PTC. We don't want to forget them in these important conversations, and not just include Eckerd in marine science. They have other majors and minors that we can work around. The partnership that we have at the end with Pinellas County Schools and aligning with their strategic plan, when you say support them, is that financial support or is that aligning our
Aligning
strategic?
our work.
Okay, that as well. And then I have one last thing. When we go to the library, what is it, something Reads program, what did you call it? The City Reads, and we adopted a center. I don't know if I don't know if I talked to you about this. Can we look at, because we have some really awesome young authors right here locally that we don't patronize at all. And I would love to see us look into our City Reads program, not just adopt a center, but adopt young authors that we can, I guess because I feel as though if we live here, we ought to be able to support our own in some of these initiatives, support some of the young authors that are here in the city of St. Petersburg. And I have one, I can call his name right now, that has already written like 6 or 7 books, has umbrellas in the whole 9 yards, and we do not partner with any of that at all. So when we say we are St. Pete, I want us to truly mean that we are St. Pete. And so I'm going to leave that there, because I do have a couple, but I'll let my other colleagues speak. But those are something that I really wanted to put on the record as recommendations, questions, and clarifications. So again, I was excited for this presentation when I saw it. Yeah, this is my jam. I do love when it comes down to our youth. Oh, one last question. The St. Pete Junior Football Athletic Association, that's open to all other leagues, right?
I cannot say how they function.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot say how they function.
Okay, can you find out?
Sure.
Because I'd appreciate that. All right, thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Committee Chair Givens.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, Dr. Brown, for all of your hard work and diligence in serving our socially economic disadvantaged youth. I really appreciate the programs that you've put in place in your short time on board. So kudos to you. Did have a couple of questions that I'll start with, and then I'll make my comments. First question, picking up off of Councilmember Fig Sanders regarding the Little League teams. So I love the work that they are doing. I have spoken with Mr. Stiles at the St. Pete Little Devils. I do have a question though. Will we get like a report on what this investment has done, their gains? I know they have like an academic component tied to this as well. Will we expect something like that in the future?
Actually, we already received it, and that's how I was able to draw the data. So they've already turned in their final report because the recipients of the Youth Opportunity Grants, their final reports were due or are due September 30, but because so many of them ran their programs this summer, they already had their data. So he already submitted the report saying that the data is ongoing because the program is still running. But it was from that report that I was able to draw the data to share with you today.
Can you share that with council members, the full report? I'd like to see that in detail, please, if you don't mind. And then also your early literacy resource guide. I have seen those and I've been giving those out, so kudos there. How are we as a city dispersing that throughout the community?
Right, so the partnership with Thrive by 5 is really, it's their responsibility because they received the money to do that work. That said though, we are partnering with them to disperse those guides. So we actually have a meeting coming up because another batch of guides are being printed because they've all been basically given out. And in that meeting, we will be discussing the various ways that we'll be dispersing them. Already the Office of Strategic Partnerships in the school system has asked if they can have 100 guides to be able to disperse them to partners and place them in their schools. So that's one way. But in this meeting that we have coming up, we'll be discussing other ways.
Gotcha. Well, I'd like to recommend our rec centers if we aren't already doing that. Ms. Hine here, get her ideas and feedback on how perhaps we can disperse these to our local schools and make sure that the counselors and the teachers have those. I want to talk about the Safe Summer. I love those, by the way. I was able to participate in 2 of them, our Safe Summer Fridays. I'd love to see the expansion of that effort. I've heard stories from my parents. I didn't really have a lot of this growing up in my generation. We did go to JWK for Tasco dances, but apparently there were like a lot of summer activities at rec centers back in the day. We did a little bit of that this summer. I'd love to see that expand year round. I really think it sort of helped combat with some of the crime that we had in the community, some of the violence that you may see on the norm, because youth were given something productive to do late on a Friday night. And I know funds are always few and far between, but just to administration, if we can look at possibly expanding that effort, if not the entire year, perhaps the entire, school year, or during those breaks when kids are out, in the fall. Something like that, spring break. I really think that was successful, and I'd love to see a few more of those throughout the calendar year. And then also City Reads. Is there any plans for expansion of that? I know you mentioned there's one school, one class. Are we going to expand that in the future?
Right, so City Reads, the original name of City Reads is Adopt a Center, and it's a Thrive by 5 initiative. The idea behind Adopt a Center is for businesses, institutions, organizations to adopt a preschool center and provide support that is needed by that center. The director wants to expand it, or still wants, I should say, to expand it here on the Pinellas side, because it is running on the Hillsborough side. So when she approached me with it, I said, sure, I will help you, because her ask was if we could just get somebody on the Pinellas side to do it and then serve as a role model for other businesses, then we can expand the program on the Pinellas side. So we raised our hands to say, yes, we will do it on the Pinellas side to be that role model. So it is really Thrive by 5 that is expanding it. We went to the school system to say, we're going to do this. Who do you recommend we adopt? The school system recommended we adopt Melrose. And so now with that, my understanding is Thrive by 5 is getting other organizations that want to follow in the Adopt a Center model. We, just to be unique and branded, call it City Reads. So the answer to your question is yes, it is expanding, and Thrive by 5, whose initiative it is expanding the program.
Gotcha, and I appreciate that clarification.
You're welcome.
I will say I've heard a lot of Thrive by 5 is doing. Thrive by 5, kudos to them as well. But I would love to see the city sort of take the reins on some of these as well, or do our part a little bit more. I hear you saying that we are reaching out to a lot of these preschools. We don't have to comment on it, but daycares, specifically those home daycares, I know that there are a lot of federal funds that have been stripped to provide them with the funding and the training that they need, specifically with ELC, Early Learning Coalition. So I would love to see us reach out to ELC to see how we as a city can help fund some of that training and certifications that a lot of these home daycare centers really rely on. As we talk about adopting these preschools, centers, I want us to also look heavily at the daycare centers as well, home daycare centers. And perhaps that could be an opportunity for us to disperse some of those resource guides. So as you and your team are out there meeting with these preschool center directors and these home daycare directors, that's an opportunity again to put more books out there so that way those parents have access to those. And then also workforce. So I know Doyle and I talked a little bit about this. I'm excited about this program that the city of Tampa has. They have a summer youth internship program geared specifically for high school students. It's a partnership with the Hillsborough County School Board. So I've been looking at how we can duplicate that model and that effort here at the city of St. Pete. I'm all about mentorship. I'm all about on-the-job training and exposing these youth early on. You know, my background is at Job Corps with vocational and trade education. So looking at ways that we can sort of in a way expand the Mayor's Future Readiness Academy, where perhaps these may not necessarily be paid internships at the moment, but specifically just an internship where we're giving these kids the exposure of working within various city departments. Perhaps it's fleet, you know, as a mechanic. Northeast has the mechanic program. I don't know what those departments would be and how it would work, but I certainly think there's an opportunity for us to look into that. Have we discussed that at all, Dr. Brown?
So I work strategically, as you can see. And so in my mind, my year 3 starts in January. So I told myself that in year 3, that's when I'll shift to start looking at internships. So have I looked at it? Conversations happen, it's swirling in my head. But for me, that's okay, January 2026, I start looking at this.
And that's good news, because I was thinking about the past Prosperity Pathways program.
Yes.
And you mentioned Baycare and Bank of America and Power Design. And I'm like, okay, where's the city of St. Pete? You know, I certainly think there's room for opportunity there, especially when you have so many of our youth who leave, like my brothers and sisters. They left the city of St. Pete for other opportunities in other cities and other states. And I don't want us to lose our future workforce. I really want us to capture them. Yes, ma'am.
With Boys and Girls Club Prosperity Pathway, so one of the things you'll see in there are their Future Leaders program. So a conversation we want to have with them, because what they do in that program as they're preparing young people for the workforce is it lends itself, what we see is it lends itself to be able to expand to Mayor's Future Ready, but expanding Mayor's Future Ready Academy to other departments in the not the district, in the city. And so that's a big thing to look at, and that's why that's a January 2026 conversation for me, because we want to see if we can use those students that go through Future Leaders in the Prosperity Pathways program to bring them into an expanded version of Mayor's Future Ready Academy.
Gotcha. Well, I know you've been very busy, Dr. Brown, as have I, but I really look forward to us engaging more, so that way, you know, we can work together. I certainly think as a city, we're stronger together rather than operating in our own silos. So, like the Camp Bullseye, I was really excited because I was thinking about, okay, we should bring back a program like Upward Bound. Literally the following week, I saw photos on the city's Facebook page for Camp Bullseye. And I'm like, well, this is it here. We already have it. Dr. Brown's on it. And again, kudos, great work. But I would love to be a partner with you as far as how we are recruiting some of these youth that are participating in these programs. I'm thinking about those Little League teams. I'm thinking about our Divine Nine Youth Auxiliaries and other groups, Pinellas County School Board. How can we help you intentionally target those youth who we may or may not be reaching? Because when I look at the demographics, I want to make sure, again, we're being intentional about hitting those groups that are sometimes hard to reach. And when we talk about those disadvantaged youth, I'm like, okay, I know a number of groups that are working with those youth, and I'd love to, in the future, be able to recommend them to you.
I love that you used the word intentional, because we were intentional about targeting the youth for Camp Bullseye. And when you saw me flipping through, I was like trying to find, where's that page? So we targeted specifically Azalea Middle School, Bay Point Middle, Hopkins Middle, Meadow Lawn, Sanderlin Middle, Thurgood Marshall, and Tyrone. Those were the schools that we targeted for Camp Bullseye. So every young person you saw up there was from one of those schools. Fortunately, they were excited. Unfortunately, all families did not take, the opportunity for granted. Fortunately, we received a lot of applications. Unfortunately, I don't have an unlimited budget. Mm-hmm. And so we could only accept 50 students in the program. So as we move forward, we will continue to be intentional about the schools we're targeting to provide that opportunity to young people, because we know that there's some that I spoke to personally that didn't even have an idea of how you even applied to college, where now they, at least in middle school, rising 7th graders and rising 8th graders, know how to apply, know the types of forms they have to fill out. I mean, they had to fill out an application and get a recommendation just like when you apply to college. So they know the feeling of it now. So yes, I'm glad you used the word intentional, because we were intentional about targeting specific schools for that initiative.
Gotcha. And you mentioned some of the opportunities that you took to engage those youth. I just want to make sure, again, we consider our faith-based community as well. And then also parents, so when we go to these Little League games, these Little League football practices, the parents are typically there, but they may not always be in the schools. And we can give a lot of information to our counselors, a lot of information to teachers, and sometimes that information doesn't get back home. So when we talk about intentionality, again, boots on the ground, let's just be willing to collaborate to talk about strategies and other methods that we could use to make sure this information reaches those kids who may not always have opportunities like this. So thank you so much, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Council Vice Chair Hamilton.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, thank you so much for a comprehensive report. A while ago, we had a report that was done. It was a few years ago before you were here, and one of the issues I had was having data and the impact, and that is within this report. And so I really appreciate that it is thorough in that. And I know that a lot of these programs are in the works, so obviously that is going to become even more clear in terms of the impact and the data that you're collecting.
Yes.
So 31 pages. Good start. Good start. So I'm very happy to see that. These are a lot of programs
Yes.
that we have in a lot of different facets. So I will say that I want to make sure that we continue with the data and impact no matter what the type of program it is. I know with some, you are going to have, it's going to be much more data driven, obviously in terms of numbers and whether it's reading or educational outcomes. That may look a little different, right, when it's mentoring and some other programs in terms of what the data is. I do want to hear from the partners that we have in terms of the impact from them, you know, what these programs mean, especially given light of a lot of the cuts that we've heard about and how important they are. I think that's great to know. Having the video is fantastic. And if we do that for many other programs and seeing what those impacts are, I think it's not only good messaging for us, but it's good for them to show on their end. So I think that is very helpful. Sometimes a lot of these programs may not have the capability that we do to do the nice video. We have a fantastic, every time I have an opportunity, we have a fantastic marketing department. And so when something like that happens, those partners can also share the information. So I think that is a wonderful little extra that we can provide to those partners. I want to just give an update on Shirley Proctor Puller. You know, I'm on the board of Shirley Proctor Puller. It's a great program. It's a third site. The numbers you had were 50 students completed the session, and they gave me updated numbers. We had 72 enrolled in the summer, 58 enrolled now and still enrolling for about 10 more for the upcoming year. So that's just fantastic. Basically, the program is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I just wanted to give that update. And then the other thing I want to say, I know we have the chair of the Pinellas County School Board, Laura Hine, and Laura, Chair, if you don't mind, if she can come up.
I was going to do it.
Oh, okay. First of all, just if you can come up and tell us a little bit, the partnerships, by the way, that Dr. Brown, you could sit over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, by a microphone somewhere. The partnerships that we have with Pinellas County School and Dr. Brown covered are fantastic. I think it is great opportunity for both the city and the schools to collaborate in an environment where we need collaboration
Yes.
the most. I think we are in an environment where we need to be by each other and making sure that our community's needs are taken care of. So if you can just talk a little bit about what's going on and the programs and what it means to the school board and to the students.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. And Dr. Brown, thank you for the invitation and your persistence in the last year since you've been here. I know you and I haven't spent time together as we would like to, but to be here today and hear this range of programs, I personally am blown away. I really am. I mean, I just had no idea the breadth and depth and scope of what you've been up to. And I know you've been asking. So, hey, it's on me for sure. We're doing a lot too. But it's incredible. And so I think the first thing I want to say is thank you. You know, and I can see that your focus is in this very similar areas that we are with early literacy, early learning, mentoring, childcare, a whole range of things. I think a few things that jumped out at me, I love that connecting careers and classrooms you did with teachers. That's incredible, and expanding that is important. I don't think that, you know, mentors cannot be understated. So even though we've been doing mentoring a long time and people are maybe a little bored and they want the new shiny penny program, and let me just tell you, there's no silver bullet solution. that is going to fix this. It's going to take all of us, and it's going to take a lot of people, right? But mentoring, hands down, is a really important program. So thank you. Thank the City of St. Pete for allowing your employees to be out there mentoring in our schools. It makes a significant difference. I do want to share a little bit news. A lot of us have been around this city a long time now. And as we know, we had really struggling schools for a long time, right? Especially, you think 10 years or so ago. But do you know that now 90% of the schools in Pinellas County are A or B schools? 90%. We have 0 D or F schools.
Good.
0. I have a 6th grader at John Hopkins Middle School. My 9th grader just finished at John Hopkins, now is at St. Pete High IB. John Hopkins is now a B school. The school I sent them to for our elementary school was a D school. It is now an A school. There is work to be done, and it is up to each of us to do it. And I really appreciate seeing the city taking an active interest. But I would like for you to be ambassadors of our schools the same way I am. So you can go out to your community and confidently say, the city of St. Petersburg has great schools, and we should attend them, and we should invest in them, and we should participate in them, because as we know, our communities and our countries is only improved every day by those of us who participate in it. So please, I ask you to be ambassadors of our schools and let people know that they are excellent, and if they're not, then come talk to me about it, or anyone else. But those key efforts I mentioned for us, early literacy, so understand that our 3rd grade reading rate here in Pinellas County Schools over the last 7 years has gone up 14%. And in that same time frame, it stayed flat across the state. So we've improved 14%, the state has stayed flat. And that takes investment, and it takes resources. And resources are an issue right now. Another place that has been a big focus, which you mentioned, was middle school innovation. It has taken an investment of resources. And we've gone from having only 8 A or B middle schools 3 years ago to having 20. A and B middle schools throughout Pinellas County. And then, of course, our teachers. Pinellas successfully passed that referendum. Thank you for those of you who might have supported that. And that is the only thing that is allowing Pinellas County to keep as many teachers as we possibly can. We're the 3rd highest in the state for starting teacher pay because of that referendum, but Florida as a whole is 50th in the nation in teacher pay. So you need to understand that. We are also 44th in the nation when it comes to our per pupil investment in voluntary pre-kindergarten or pre-K. Early learning, VPK, school readiness, all of those budgets were cut from last year to this year's state budget. I'd like to refer you to the Florida Policy Institute's recent article about the education budget summary. It isn't just K-12, it is also on early learning and school readiness, just so that you're aware. So yes, we are facing a difficult environment, both when it comes to funding and when it comes to legislation impacting our schools. Our school board and our superintendent, I'm very proud to be part of it, has been committed to strength and stability and success, even through all of these difficult years. And I think we've been able to achieve it. But with that commitment changing, right? So the Head Start program at the federal level, is being reduced, and, so with all those commitments changing from the federal and state levels, I just think locally, if we can continue to work together and collaborate and target our resources, we're going to have to target them in the areas that we know move the needle most. And I think it is that early literacy, early child care. And you guys know our workforce is impacted by the lack of child care resources. So what can we do? What can we look at when it comes to spaces, businesses, to help people with not just childcare, but also learning while they're in that childcare, right? So that children can read. It's extraordinarily important. I think, again, I'm amazed and really happy, and thank you, and with the work that you are doing, the city's doing. It seems like there's a heavy lift, and then those few partnerships you have. What I am curious about too is how do we expound the net to just everyday people? Right? So we're all here, we're doing what we can, but we're just one person. And so how do we inspire businesses? How do we inspire local citizens? How do we inspire whether it's retired people or even college-age kids to come back? Or how do we get others to be engaged in our schools, adopt a classroom? I love the reading program. And that's something that I think a lot about. So again, whether it's acknowledging a business for adopting a school, or how can we use the platform of the city, to acknowledge that, and maybe that's Chamber of Commerce. I don't know, but thank you for having me today. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about our schools while I'm here.
Well, thank you, Chair Hine. I have to say, I agree with you in terms of getting everyone involved. It's something that I have been proactively trying to do, even before I was on city council, making sure that our neighbors are supporting their local schools, getting mentors in there. I've been mentoring at the school. I started at Woodlawn with a child, and I will tell you, I'm still her mentor, and she's in high school. And it is so fulfilling to be a part of a child's journey and be there to help them. And that is something that everyone can do simply and give back. And we do, like you say, have a lot of resources and retired people in our community that are experts in so many fields that can give back to their schools. So I try to do that at neighborhood meetings, make sure that people understand there are ways to get involved, contact your local schools and offer resources. And the same thing for businesses, because what I've found is that schools are operating more in silos and not a part of the community anymore. And that is very frustrating. When I grew up, it wasn't like that. And I think it's maybe because kids are moved around, you know, to different schools. You travel more, you have a choice school as opposed to going to your school in your neighborhood, right? And when it was a neighborhood school, everybody knew that was the neighborhood school, the fundraising and everything, the businesses and all that. It all kind of came together, and we don't have that as much anymore. We don't have the people that are closest to those schools doing that. And we have to find a way to engage the community again to embrace the public schools. So when their funding is being taken away and their needs are not being met, they can answer the call that you've made. So thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for your service. And please keep those lines of communication open with us so we can continue to do the work that administration is doing, Dr. Brown is doing, and we all as council members could do to help you.
The last thing I'll mention is one thing I've learned now in my handful of years at the school board. You know, I mean, I was just a mom who got involved in her kid's school. And then I got so excited I ran for school board. And now what I've learned is that the school board is really just charged with implementing what the state says. I mean, the state legislature funds, decides the amount of money, and they pass the laws, and we have to implement it. And so when you talk to families or people who are concerned or who have questions or who want more, please encourage them to reach out to their legislators. Because our legislators need to hear from the citizens that these are their tax dollars, they care about their schools, and they want their schools funded. We would love to do as much as we could. The school board would fund them all day long. It isn't our decision. And so just the more we can educate people where that nexus of decision lies, I really appreciate it. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Well, first, Dr. Brown, thank you so much for the update. I think it'll be an easy decision for this committee, and maybe not even a decision, because I'll probably just do it, to keep you on the referral list and just see you every 6 months. I'd love to say every quarter, but I don't want to put too much pressure on you. And so, because I think this is really important, and I would totally agree with Vice Chair Hanowitz about the breadth of the presentation and the data involved. This was something I think we were all looking for, and I think you hit it on the head on what we needed to see going forward. Because again, and we say it a lot, right? I think Vice Chair Hanowitz probably says it the most. I'll give her credit. You know, listen, it's limited resources, right? And so we understand that, but it also, we're also, when we're able to get a presentation like this, we're able to see what we can do with those limited resources. And although they're limited, they're impactful. And so we totally understand that they are limited, but how we're using a dollar ends up being very important because of them being limited. And so thank you for making sure that we have a very comprehensive understanding of that. Laura left. But I just wanted to thank Mrs. Hines for her participation and for her being here today. In my district, I had an F school 4 years ago. Today they're an A school. And so I think what our county is doing with what we have is pretty incredible. And I think the work that we're supplementing has a lot to do with that. That doesn't get lost on me. Laura brought up something that I think is really important, and I think most council members, if not all council members, do this, but I have visited every school in my district, public or private. I think that's important because of school choice. And so I think we've got to continue to shout those things at neighborhood meetings and in meetings like this about what's going on in our schools, what's going well, what are the opportunities. We can't be afraid of the not so great things either, because that's how we're going to create change. And so I feel like in both committees I've gone on a little bit of a tirade, so I apologize. But all my colleagues hit most of the questions, and I was able to see a lot of these things. It's been very cool to be chair for 9 months while you've been implementing these things, because I get a few more invites, I think. I know it's not my popularity, and so, but it's been fun to be a part of these and to see them work and to hear from some of these kids and watch them learn and grow just in an hour meeting with them and the questions they ask. I mean, I had a 12-year-old ask me for the budget. They wanted my budget book, so I had to have another one printed because I wasn't about to tell them no. And so that's just incredible. That's an incredible experience for me, and an incredible experience for a 12-year-old to be able to have that opportunity, right? I mean, I just think that's very impactful. Okay, so thank you. We're going to keep you on the referral list if that's okay. Yeah, Councilmember Fix-Sanders.
Before Dr. Brown leaves, I know you were inquired about a summer youth intern program. We already have one. The the mayor's plan, that program is different from a summer youth intern program. And the one that we have is the RFP is coming up. So when we looked at the different job locations, city departments is one that's going to be considered, because we used to include city departments but got away from it. So I just didn't want you to go looking into an initiative that we're already doing. And if you could get in contact with maybe Brian Capers so you can see where we are in the RFP process. No need to reinvent the wheel. We already have it. It's a year-round summer youth intern program. New RFP is coming out. I can't remember the date, but they're working on it. But anyway, so just so you don't start over, we already have it.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, we're going to look forward to seeing you twice a year and getting this update. Sorry, but not sorry. And for all the staff that has, I know that this touches a lot of different departments and administrations. And so if they're listening, I just want to say a big thank you for everything that you're doing for our youth, and just so appreciative of how the city has been able to move the needle, and I know we're going to continue to get even better at it. Okay, council members, we've got TBD for November 13th, but I'm sure we'll figure something out before then. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, Youth and Family Services for September 4th is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr.